How does Me Too fit into this? Because you've been somewhat critical of that. I think it hits all three of those criteria that you just laid out there.
Look, you know, obviously Me Too started as a really legitimate and powerful movement in identifying the predation that Harvey Weinstein was engaged in, and surely there have been many powerful men in the last couple of decades working in industries where there's a lot of young women around and they have positions of power and they're able to exploit those positions. But you know, I'm a young woman myself, right? And I don't see sexual harassment as being as pervasive as a lot of people claim. And I also think it's very dangerous to make accusations against people publicly, because our reputations are so valuable and so important that you know, we need to respect other people's ability to have their reputation, and making accusations in public sort of goes against my my feeling that it feels vindictive to me, and it feels dangerous, a dangerous path to go down, because for every true accusation there is of sexual harassment, there's going to be someone who is you know, there are going to be people who have conflicts, and then the conflict, someone feels like they can resolve a conflict through making an accusation of sexual harassment, and that's really scary. We don't want people to resolve their conflicts by making public accusations.
Right, but I definitely think there's a certain set of people that don't mind collateral damage, right? I mean, that seems to be what's happening right now, and people, you see this, public people that are tweeting these kind of things, like it doesn't matter if you take down a couple innocent people, that's how dangerous this thing is. That strikes me as far more dangerous, and I'm not belittling any of the actual things that some of these women have gone through.
Yeah, it's scary. It's the desire for collective punishment, and that collective punishment is scary. If you look at the Geneva Convention that was established after World War II, the UN declared collective punishment a war crime. So the idea is that when there is a conflict between ethnic groups in certain places, if some people are killed in a conflict, you can't then go and wipe out a village as a collective retribution, because that's how these war crimes happen. So now where this like you said, this collateral damage, this desire for collateral damage is being normalized. Like, people don't seem to understand how dangerous this is and how unjust it is.
But is part of the issue that perhaps they do understand it, but they so want to destroy the system? This is, you know, I've been on tour with Jordan Peterson. One of the things he's been talking about a lot lately is, yes, you can acknowledge that we don't have perfect systems, and those perfect systems are probably impossible to ever get to. But now we have this new thing in the system, which is, let's just freaking destroy the whole thing to build our perfect system.
Yeah, I think people don't understand, because we're not taught anymore. We're not taught history properly. We don't learn about human nature in school, and how it's almost an instinct to want to desire retribution and vindictive justice. I think it's part of our natures to want to punish people and punish groups. And our institutions, like due process and the presumption of innocence, they go against our instincts. But that's why they're
Thankfully.
so... Yeah. And I think what we're seeing is just sort of like a regression back to our more tribal, instinctive nature. And because our education system is so atrophied, young people aren't being taught the value and the fragility of these institutions, how they came about, why they're so important, why we must protect them. So I think there's just a basic ignorance about why these institutions exist in the first place, and then we're regressing back to our more primitive natures. When you don't have proper law and order, you do get mob justice and vigilante justice in real life, and you can see that throughout history. You get lynchings, you get pogroms, you get groups like mobs of people going and attacking an individual who they think is guilty of like a sex crime or some other crime and killing the person. So, and then what happened was we developed legal and social norms that stopped that kind of vigilante justice from taking place. And if you are a vigilante, you can get in trouble with the law. And then we've developed social norms that prevent people from just forming mobs and going attacking people in the street. But social media is this new technology, and we haven't developed any of the legal or social norms yet. And so it's brought back this mobbing behaviour, which is part of our nature. It's brought it back, but we haven't yet developed any of the norms to sort of suppress it or mitigate against it.
Yeah.
And I think we eventually will develop these norms, but it's going to take a while, and there's going to be a few innocent people sort of metaphorically lynched in the process.